Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him.
As birds flying, so will the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also, he will deliver it, and passing over, he will preserve it.
For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariot like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. This is your brother Yahweh. I want to give all glory and praises to our Heavenly Father Yahweh. We do so in the name of our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai. Grace and mercy be abound to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth that are waiting on the second coming of our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. Today, we're doing this is a Sabbath teaching concerning the topic, as you see here. Clout chasing Israelites don't have the solution. And this is actually based off of a couple of things. I'll actually have to go over it. A video from, and you see in the thumbnail, of course, you see the IUIC. And I also have another one where it is an interview that was made with a prominent Israelite in the community who had some things to say in a particular conversation with a well-known podcaster, okay? And we know that these type of people always seek out for more exposure, which is good if it's constructive and it leads to our message really getting out there. But the more and more that I listen to these men, the more and more I see that they do not promote the solution, which is Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, the fall of Edom's empire, and the subjugation of all those that are our enemies, and us being given the Holy Land back and ruling under Yahweh Shai HaMashiach for eternity. Okay. But, you know, when you start seeing their conversation that they're not having the solutions that are indicative of what I'm referring to as of right now. So we'll see here. And oh yeah, shalom to the brother Yeremia, who's in the chat. We're here again. This is, you know, a live stream that we're trying to get going. Did have, I think, I had some technical difficulties earlier, or at least yesterday. I had gotten an email that one of the channels was going to be limited with advanced features. And for some reason, when I got the email, because we have multiple channels, I thought it was the main channel, but it was actually the at Kingdom of Heaven page, which is our secondary channel. So I'm gonna have to work on that. But thankfully, at least the main page doesn't have that issue. We don't have any current issues with YouTube in regards to our streams or our videos. So hopefully that trend continues and y'all continue to get edified by what we're talking about here. Make sure that when you are on our video, that you give us a like, a comment, also share our content as well. We're going to try and do more live streams. Just trying to figure out everything. As you can see, I added some soundbite components to this, which is going to be also make things more interesting and hopefully keep y'all engaged in this topic as well. Okay. So what I'm going to do, see if we can go ahead and get into a precept, and then I'm going to get into some of the videos that we're referring to, and we're going to see exactly, you know, what it is that we're talking about in regards to this particular topic. So bear with me for a moment. All right, so we have here in the book of Isaiah, chapter 9 and verse 16, for the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. This has been the big problem that we've had. Our leadership structure as a people has been destroyed. And this goes back to us going into captivity anyway, because we would not have been going into captivity if we had proper leaders and we had the people following the leaders. Now, and we're talking about the leaders that the Most High raised up, not people that made themselves leaders and are working according to the will of man and not according to the will of Yahweh. Okay, because there is a difference when it comes to the will. Okay, what is the reason? The will, where there's a will, there's a way. Okay, and if you're self-willed, then your way are going to lead to outcomes, which is the downfall of not only yourself but those that are following you. Okay, so in fact, let me give you an example of how, those that were before us operated and not according to their own will. Okay, and this is something that a lot of people sometimes don't think of in regards to the conversation of whether or not one is whether or not one is worthy of being a leader or not. That's going to be the Most High doing that. And I remember when the revelation of baptism was given unto us, one of the first things that we were asked was, who gave you that authority? Who told you that you to do that? They wanted us to talk about a man that we were answering to that told us that we're supposed to do that. And they wanted us to bring up one of these leaders. They're one of their leaders from the old One West. That's really what they were wanting to hear. When we told them that we had no body that was above us that told us other than the Most High, they were confounded. So here it is, 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 1. Paul, called to be an apostle of Yahushua Mashiach through the will of Yahweh. Okay? So that's whose will your intent has to follow. When you're a clout chaser is self-willed. Okay? A clout chaser is self-willed. They're looking for their own desire to be fulfilled, and they use it under the guise of being Israelite or doing stuff on behalf of the nation. And that's how they run out. They're able to run out there under that guise, and you don't even know that they have self-willed purposes in what they're doing. Okay, so what we'll do, I'm gonna bring out a couple of precepts, but before we do, I'm gonna go into this actual situation. Now, this is over their State Farm Arena out there in Atlanta. There's a Christian church known as the 2819 Church, which is basically like what's known as the Great Commission precept in Matthew 28 and 19. And of course, you know that our people are largely Christian, and Christianity, as it was given to us, which was an unbiblical form of the message of the gospel, was built on us submitting to our oppressor and being taken advantage of our oppressor. Now, this particular form of the gospel, the false gospel that has been given, is actually one of the number one ways in which many swindlers, shysters, and not only misinformed people, but devious people can find a way to profit off of our pain. Okay. And the guy that was targeted in this was this particular man right here. Okay. This is Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell, and he checks the Israelites after they go to the State Farm Arena to show force, which I say is clout chasing, because this is similar to the Kyrie Irving situation out there in Brooklyn when the situation happened over the Hebrews and Negroes documentary. This is a constant theme for them to really get their name out there, to generate more views and more membership that is not organically going into repentance through faith in Yahushua. So I'm going to first play this right here so you can see the video, and then we'll also look at the response that the Christian pastor made after that. Okay, so it says here, hundreds of Hebrew Israelites attempt to disrupt massive Atlanta prayer service led by 2819 at State Farm Arena. Okay, so basically, this pastor, he must be pretty big, because the fact that he's able to gather people to State Farm Arena, which I guarantee they had to pay. Okay, they had to pay for access. It wasn't free, because you're at a big arena in Atlanta. Okay, and then you already know within them places they're going to be selling merchandise. Of course, you're trying to recruit membership, and then they're gonna use the tithes as a doctrine to make them pay them back under that 501c3. Because remember, they're getting free money. Even the ticket sales is basically going to be a revenue generating that they're not going to have to pay taxes on, in addition to the other things, because it's all tied to that 501c of the 2819 church. But guess what? IUIC is doing the same thing anyway. They're a 501c3. They're doing the same type of thing. So it's the same hustle, just under a different name. One calls themselves Hebrew Israelites, the other one calls themselves Christians. It's the same thing. So all they're doing is just battling for clout among these people, okay, by doing this. And this is bad, because at the end of the day, you're just recruiting more people into your false doctrine. You're not going to tell them the name of Yahushua, of the Messiah as Yahushua, and you're not going to lead them towards the path of righteousness and salvation, as was shown by the works of the disciples, primarily the apostles. Okay, and that's part of the problem. But again, they use these things to draw attention to themselves, so that way it can lead to their money, their pockets. Okay, you see another angle here. And there's always going to be a beef between Christians and Israelites. The Israelite community and Christians, by and large, there are some Israelites that are very much more Christian-like. They want us to take the low as a people. They want the people that directly oppressed us, to be forgiven and be allowed to be joint heirs in the kingdom. And crazy work. Like I said, if actually our people were, if you were given the vision, or if dreams of all the souls of our people that were tortured in this captivity, and you could see all the things that happened to them, the distress, the pain, the anguish that them and their loved ones face, and you saw that continually for like a whole year, and you were just shown these dreams, you would not feel the same way about these people. And that's where having an understanding of why the Most High wants to destroy those of our enemies. Why do you think he wants to have the Esau Edom utterly wasted away and no more, according to the book of Obadiah? Because of the injuries and the unrighteous dealings that they did to our people, even when our iniquity was passed away, meaning the time of our iniquity was done away, like it tells us. Okay, so understandable about confronting them, but I'm telling you that under the guise of the Bible and being Hebrew and saying we're bringing people back to quote unquote their nationality, they use these things. You got to think about it. They're using these young men to profit money that these young men are not going to touch, but these men are doing this out of the sincerity of their heart, those that are being misled by these false leaders. And then they're going to not benefit monetarily at the end, but those that are at the very top, they're the ones who will benefit, okay, with the 501c3, okay? And this is one of the dangers of having brothers that are joining these type of things being used as pawns for somebody else's agenda. Because what happens is those guys end up becoming hurt, injured, and they become turned off now by the Bible and any potential gospel message, because of them being used ultimately. And this happens across a lot of various groups. And this is the reason why even among us, that's why we address certain people. We're willing to address any issues that somebody had with us that either left or was put out. You know why? Because we're fully confident that the actions that we're taking here that if you leave from us, we know for a fact that you're not going anywhere better for yourself spiritually. We can guarantee that because we know that we're doing this in truth and in sincerity, like the brother Yawasop be saying. Okay, we're doing this in truth and in sincerity. Okay, see if there's anybody else on here. Okay, see another watcher. Now, let's see what we can do. Now, what are we going to do? Oh, yeah, look at this, by the way. Yeah, but the fruit, this is a Christian, clearly. She's using Galatians 25 and 22 and 23. And what they do is they don't want us to be combative against false doctrine. So they use this, but this right here is about what the fruits of the Spirit does. It's not about you not confronting evil, okay? But this is how, Christians don't look at it. Now it says here, Galatians 5, 22 and 23, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And that's a good precept. But however, within this, we have to remember that Paul also said that the law was not done away with. So a lot of the things that the Christian church promotes is against the law, which then brings all the other things that are negative, okay, which is the works of the flesh. Because remember, the works of the flesh are anti against the fruit of the Spirit. Because if you are promoting the wickedness that's found within among our people, okay, such as the high level of Jezebelism, okay, has masqueraded and taken over the Christian church and has been detrimental to our people, then you're not going to bring love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. That's going to be opposite. And that's why you see our people suffering today, for among many other reasons as well. Now, as you go further down, this gentleman right here, all-loving cowherd boy, says, tell that to the billions of animals that Christians slaughtered every year to satisfy your tongues. So this guy is basically a vegan. And there's nothing wrong with a brother being a vegan. But if your veganism is based off of you believing that animals should not be slaughtered for food, especially the clean ones that the Bible says we're allowed to eat, then you're in a whole different ballgame. So these people are all over the place, okay? Now let's go ahead and go into what this guy said, okay? Now, when I say clout chasing Israelites, I'm referring mainly to the Hebrew Israelite community, because those that are circumcision are the ones whose mouths ought to be stopped, because they're the ones that cause more confusion within our message. Because when we go out and we actually push what we're about, the cloudedness of it is when they find out that we believe we're Israelites, and then they pin us to the likes of IUIC. And that's part of the problem that we have to deal with. So let's go ahead and listen to this false pastor, Christian pastor, Philip Anthony Mitchell, on checking the Israelites, particularly IUIC.
We want you to know that you are Hebrew Israelite. You can be here, but you cannot spread your doctrine here. You cannot give out pamphlets in the parking lot. We will hunt you down and put you out, or we will win you to the Lord Jesus. You cannot spread your false doctrine here. You will be exposed. You cannot preach that false doctrine here, but you're welcome to be here among us, but you're not welcome to spread your false doctrine here, in Jesus' name. And I said that.
You know what's interesting is that he called on Jesus just like IUIC does. That's the funny thing, right? They both calling on Jesus, but they both have different agendas and how they're trying to reach their aim and goal, which both of them, they're both their leaders, starting with Nate from IUIC and also the leader of the Church of the 2819, false pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell. They both have the goal of elevating themselves within their respective arenas and circles to elevate their name and also to get money out of this. So they want fame, notoriety. They want that bag too. Okay. So that's what they're looking for. Okay. And ultimately, that's the agenda at the end of the day. I mean, people can think that it's something else, but it's one of those things where it's like, come on, it's like you're going to check what, man? Like, what are you checking? Oh, this is another false teacher from Sons of Thunder, Mr. Ben Famous, as they call, also known as Joel. We've actually had talked to him, did a debate on baptism. He denied even the name Yahushai could be correct. Okay, which we have that video as well. This man has also created various other false doctrines, in addition to, you know, basically being against the principles and the ways of Yahushua HaMashiach. And he's one of among those clout chasing guys as well. Okay, who views this as a way to elevate his name and also to get money and notoriety out of this. Now, let's see what he had to say, because sometimes a broken clock is right twice a day. And sometimes a lot of, like, when we, like us ourselves, we will always give credit where credit is due. And if somebody says the right thing, we will credit them for it. Okay, because we rejoice in the truth. Now, it says here, what do you mean checked? He described human beings who disagree with his theology as something to be hunted down, and of all his sermons, I have yet to hear him attack white supremacy or the Jewish traditionalists who carry the Talmudic viewpoint that completely disrespects Christ. He has yet to even mention them. I find it comical. And guess what? I agree. I agree. Okay. Yeah, so what he said was correct. We'll give him a round of applause for that. But yeah, the reason why that they don't want to give those talking points because it alienates the people that they want to bring in. They want to bring in people from those particular backgrounds. They also don't want the heat from certain groups of people by calling them out, because when you're this big of a group, you cannot be talking down on the small hats. Okay, you can't talk around on the small hats. Small hats gonna let you have it. Okay, so that's the reason why you're not going to hear that. You're not going to hear them talking points, my guy. You know, in the among the Christian circles, you must understand that, especially amongst Black Christians, they're rarely going to talk against some small hats. You could damn near forget about that in the Christian circles. Now, among them white Christians, they'll talk about the small hats. Oh, there's a lot of them that are outside of CBN. Well, CBN is all support. You got Cornerstone Church. I forgot the guy's name. Pastor, I think Hagee, out there in San Antonio. Oh man, he gonna make you put money in for these people as if they broke, as if they poor, as if they refugees or something. When they getting taxpayer money from Germany, they're still getting reparation money from Germany, still getting reparation money. They're getting money funded taxpayer money from the United States. They got IPAC. They got all these different entities, and they're the richest people on the planet. They own a lot of corporations. They own a lot of stock in companies, banking system, real estate. You know, they got a whole bunch of stuff. So they don't need everybody else in the world to help them. They definitely are more than capable of handling themselves, and they gonna bully other people to do things for them. Okay, but you know, talking about oppression and then talking about the system of oppression being tied to a race of people is not what somebody that's a Christian wants. And the last thing he wants to do is lose his congregation of good old white folk. Okay. Now we ourselves, we don't mind somebody who looks different being among us, as long as they believe in the message, because we understand that faith is the people of faith is their own race in and of itself. Okay, like we talked about in the last live stream last week. Okay, so we have to be mindful of that. Now let's get into some other stuff. Okay, so I'm going to share with y'all. In fact, hold on for one moment. Let me check and see if I could switch this out real quick. Okay, as you see here, you have so-called General Yohana of the ISUPK. He is talking to this podcaster, Jake Shields. I believe this guy was also an MMA fighter before he turned podcaster. As you see there, he has a little over 100,000 subscribers, and I don't even know if this is his only channel. He does have various variety of guests. I mean, he's had some guests on here that openly hate so-called black people. So I guess in order for him to not look like he's one-sided, he brought on what people would say is a black supremacist. Now notice, as you see there, look at the title, Black Israelite. Remember that put the black in front of Israelite or Hebrew Israelite is a COINTELPRO term. I'll put it like that. Because as you know, years back, they put out something called the Black Identity Extremists. And part of the Black Identity Extremists is the Black Hebrew Israelites. Anybody talking about BHI or talking about Black Hebrew Israelites or Black Israelite, they're actually pushing forward part of the agenda to demonize the community, which a lot of these people that are in the community that are highly visible, a lot of them are agents. Okay, they're agent provocateurs. They're leaders in that dysfunction. Okay, and don't think for 1 second that you don't got guys in this Israelite community that are not possibly tied in with government agencies. Okay, because they're out there in other fields and areas. They were infiltrated civil rights movement, Nation of Islam, Black Panthers is infiltrated, all these groups. Okay, so anytime you have a people that are looking to rise up out of their condition, they'll have people that will be within that will try and compromise the movement, either or lead movements or mislead people that are leadership into a different direction and to talk about different things. Now, this particular debate, as you see here, it says Black Israelite General Yohana on race, reparations, and Black identity fight back. This is episode 114 of this particular podcast. Okay, and let me make sure everybody's good. So if you join the live stream, let us know. Also, make sure to like it for the sake of pushing forward actual stuff that's relevant, that is needed among our people to be known. So that way we can continue to push forward the true gospel of Yahushua HaMashiach. Okay. In the midst of doing that, we have to, unfortunately, continue to combat false doctrine, false teachers, and expose false leaders. We just have to do this. This is part of our lot. Okay. So sometimes, it sucks that we have to, deal with this type of stuff, but it is what it is. Okay. Because the time will come where they will not endure sound doctrine, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about in regards to things that are said. And it's funny. When I saw this particular video the other day, I was like, I know for a fact that he's not going to provide something relevant that's good, right? And in this section, it's called, because he's talking about the history of what's happened with our people, with, the oppressor. And it says proposing solutions and future outlook. And this is where I said, oh, he's definitely going to mess this up. I already knew he's going to mess this up. I knew he was not going to provide the real solution. And I'm going to give him, let's know that the Israelite community doesn't believe in baptism and what's it called, and the way towards salvation, the steps and towards salvation. At least at the bare minimum, your solution should include the Messiah and getting our land back. That should be talked about as part of how do we fix our condition as a people, that of the stuff that we've been through. You would think that, right? Let's hear what he had to say. Okay.
Randomly doing violence.
Well, I think it's about the same, but there's way more white people than black people in America. So if they're the same, that means black people are doing way more murders. And
Absolutely not, because black people are in a horrible situation compared to whites.
And they are in those ghettos. I don't disagree with that. I've actually,
like, would that many black people be in the ghetto fight while gunfight, fire is going on if they had the means to get out of the ghetto?
No,
Absolutely
they wouldn't.
not.
And these are these are issues where it's like no one wants to talk about how they solve them, I guess, because
nobody wants to face what they did.
Yeah, but you still
You got to be a man to deal with
just
this.
real quick, let's say we did fuck you over though,
Right?
But we still have to look at a
and this is fair use. We're reacting to this information, so I do have to pause it at times. Okay. But as you see, they're talking about the solution being regards to maybe a reparation. So let's kind of hear further along, what is going to be proposed by the General Yohana. This guy's supposed to be the guy that everybody's supposed to follow. Remember, if you're not under ICBK and General Yohana, you're not in the truth. That's what he said, right? Y'all brothers have been around for a while. Y'all know exactly the mantra and the slogan that I'm talking about.
Solution of how do you pull yourself out of that?
It's an easy solution.
Now, let's hear his solution. Let's hear his solution to our problem. Let's hear it, Mr. Yohana.
We need to maybe work together.
You know what the solution is?
What's that?
Real simple. The United States has 50 states, right?
Yeah.
Black people are 15% of the population, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take 15% of the land mass of the United States, turn it over to black people and call it Black America. Let them establish a government, get the CIA out of our neighborhoods, and we'll migrate the hell up out of here, give you every beautiful city, and we'll go build an empire like you've never seen before.
Yes.
So you heard his solution. You heard his solution? Let's hear that again. Let's hear that again.
Nobody wants to face what they did.
But you still
You got to be a man to deal with
just
this.
real quick, let's say we did fuck you over though,
Right?
But we still have to look at a solution of how do you pull yourself out of that.
Now here's the solution. Listen to it again. Listen to the solution. Listen to his solution. This is supposed to be a top Israelite leader. Okay, a man you're supposed to be following according to him and his minions.
It's an easy solution.
Black people need to maybe work together.
You know what the solution is?
What's that?
Real simple. The United States has 50 states, right?
Yeah.
Black people are 15% of the population, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take 15% of the land mass of the United States, turn it over to black people and call it Black America. Let them establish a government, get the CIA out of our neighborhoods, and we'll migrate the hell up out of here, give you every beautiful city, and we'll go build an empire like you've never seen before.
So you hear that, man.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
What is this dude on? Here it is. You're supposed to be a leader of the Israelite community, and you're wanting to stay in Babylon and get a section of Babylon and call it Black America. This is what we're dealing with. And these guys from ISBK will argue with us. These guys from these other groups, they will argue that follow some of these guys that are affiliated with them. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, completely missed the whole thing, the whole solution to the matter. All right. Oh, shoot. I see the brother David. Shout out to the brother David. Yeah. So you see what's going on, man. This guy said that we should create a Black America. In fact, you know what's funny? I'm going to show y'all something. And this shows you that these guys are freaking clowns. Watch this. Because I'm doing this on the fly. I just realized this. Because y'all ain't going to know about, y'all ain't going to, y'all probably have never heard about this. Okay, so a lot of you younger brothers, this is something that's actually not even talked about often. Okay. This is not talked about often, but this is definitely something that y'all need to know about. So just bear with me for a moment. I'm actually, because it just came up out of nowhere. Okay. In my mind. And a lot of you younger brothers and some of you older brothers. Okay. may not know this. You may not know about this. Okay, and I'm probably to show a couple of different maps, but I think this was the proposed one that they had, and you're going to be like, what? Are you kidding me? In fact, I'm about to get the right one. Let me make sure I got the right. Yeah, let me make sure that I got the correct one, so that way y'all can see it. And y'all gonna be like, what? Y'all gonna be like, what? Y'all gonna be like, are you kidding me? But I want to make sure I get like the there's like a couple of them I wanted to kind of make sure that was pulled up. So bear with me, because there's actually I'm gonna have to show a map as well. Okay. Because y'all gonna be like, are you kidding me? And I'm gonna have to actually show the Wikipedia to kind of give y'all an idea of what we're talking about. But it's crazy work. Like, you know what I mean? You can be like, what? So what I'm gonna show y'all a couple of things of what basically General Yohanna is promoting. So really what he's promoting is this. I'm gonna share the tab. And really, this is what he's promoting. Okay. Now, this right here is known as the Republic of New Africa. This was an actual movement that was going on in the 60s for so-called black people to have their own separate landmass in the United States. It's called the Republic of New Africa. They wanted to get these lands from Louisiana all the way to South Carolina. Okay. This is what things that they proposed. This is what they were going to try and do. This is actually true. This actually was something that was bold. Basically what happened is the FBI got wind of it and they overthrew the whole movement, killed a lot of the people that were trying to do an armed liberation movement to have this happen. They don't talk about this. The reason why you don't hear about this in school, in your school growing up, because they do not want to have you have that idea in your head. That's why they don't talk about it in the media. CNN doesn't talk about this. That's the reason why CNN don't even talk about Malcolm X. Okay, they talk about Martin Luther King. They'll have Andrew Young. They'll have all these different people, but they will not talk about those that were looking for to be actual full-on separatists. Okay, because of the mindset that could bring in and destabilize the United States of America. Okay. So let me show you another one. This is what General Yohanna is pushing, by the way. He's really pushing this. Okay. So you see here, New Africa. This is a proposed 1985, but they had their independence April 4th, 1970 from the United States. This is like their thinking. So this is another map, and you see here, I think the other one was Jackson, Mississippi. They said a federal capital of this new country for black people, separate within the United States borders, would be based out of Atlanta, but I believe it was Jackson originally. Let the bells of freedom ring. Population at the time would have been 25 million. Okay, New African or African American. The largest city would have been New Orleans. Service, liberty, and revolution is their motto. And then they had their different languages that they were recognized, because some of this stuff was people that were bringing in these other practices and religious movements. So they had Swahili, Yoruba as a language, French, Spanish, Arabic, Greek, because again, Arabic would be for those that are Islamic. They would recognize those as other languages. Swahili, because a lot of people that were into the Pan-Africanist movement adopted Swahili as movement. That's why a lot of people that are locked up in prison, you have, I forgot what they were called, but you have the you have a particular prison gang that's out there in California, that Monster Cody, the former Crip, 8 Trade gangster Crip, he was part of the Republic of New Africa prison gang, and part of the thing that they did, they learned Swahili. That's where the word damu is the Swahili word for blood. Okay. So that's some of the components of how some of these things were intertwined together with other movements, Black Panther movements, Black Liberation Army, so on and so forth. If you look at their government, they wanted a federal parliamentary socialist republic. That's why in some of the flags, I think I've seen, they have the Soviet sickle as well. Their ideology was socialist Marxist Leninism, which was very common in the 60s. And that's why Martin Luther King was basically branded as a communist. See, because a lot of Edomites, they did not want to fight. They did not want to admit the fact that they're evil, corrupt people that are oppressors. So what they did is they tried to make anybody that wanted to do anything to liberate our people from their condition, the one thing that they did is they will just brand you as a communist. They do this today. If you protest against police brutality and injustice, they're going to call you woke and a communist. So these people, they don't run they have the same play. Their grandfathers ran that same play back in their days. So these people just using different language for the same thing that they were doing before. The difference with many leaders of our people today is that they don't want to have a separate homeland away from their oppressor. Now, the interesting thing enough, and I might have to go into it another time, Liberia was created for that purpose. Okay? But Jake messed up Liberia. I'll go into that another day because there's a lot of people that don't want to even deal with that particular subject. So I might have to deal with that another day. In fact, I might have to deal with that on another platform, okay, for the nature of some of the things that will be talked about, which will be a little bit different because it's more focused historical, and it might not be as edifying for some of y'all that are on this channel, okay? But it's something that if you're into history and you want to know, you want to have an idea of that, because we're called to be watchmen, but we not only have to watch what happened today, we got to know what happened in time past as well. Okay. So you have the legislature, National Assembly, economy, mixed socialist cooperative market economy, and then the Afro dollar. So this is all proposed. Now, let me give you just a little breakdown from Wikipedia. And mind the way, Wikipedia is not always going to be as a super accurate source. So you do have to cross-reference some of the stuff, but a lot of this stuff is accurate, by the way. So this is the Wikipedia of the Republic of New Africa, which is essentially what he's saying. Just call it Republic of Black America. That's what this guy Johanna would want, okay? And to show you these guys that do not really look to understand what it is that they're pushing. They've lost sight of it. Now they're talking like they want to be in America because, again, you got some of these people, they got a lot of FRNs. They got a lot of that, they got a lot of that petrodollar, and they're living pretty well. So the last thing they want to do is see their riches come to naught. This is the reason why it's very important that you do not desire to be super rich and wealthy in this place, because it could get to the point where your mind may trick you that you actually want this place to continue so you can enjoy that money. You won't. You're going to try and put off the day of evil. You're going to say, oh, it's going to come another time. So that way you can enjoy what you have now. Now, as you see here, it says Republic of New Africa, founded in 1968 as the Republic of New Africa, is a Black nationalist organization and Black separatist movement in the United States, popularized by Black militant groups. Okay, now I will say this. Even though they did not know the gospel at the time, and many of them did not know that they were Israelites, they were on the right track as men, that breaking away is the ultimate solution. They just didn't have the right means, and they had the wrong land that they were looking at. But when you understand who you are and where you're supposed to be, and then you realize that you can't do it on your own, that's going to force you to have faith and believe in a higher power. Because if we know we're Israelites and we know that the land that we're supposed to inherit is the promised land, and we know that we're not capable in this modern time of doing that ourselves, then that's going to force us to humble ourselves admit our fault to the Most High, and to seek after the solution which comes through his son, Yahushua HaMashiach. Okay? So that's what we are talking about. You know, that we're looking towards. Okay? So let's continue on. And it's the same states, Louisiana to South Carolina. Like I told you, the capital was Jackson, Mississippi. The other one said Atlanta. Now, then you had the president and the vice president. Okay. Sa Ankh Sa Ma'at and then Ayodele Kofia, which that he had changed his name. That's why they had the language Yoruba within there, because this guy was into Ife, which is basically an evolutionized or reorganized version of a Canaanite religion. Okay, so that's why he was trying to promote that stuff. Now, the idea of the RNA arose following the events of the 1967 Detroit riot. It was the first separate nation declared by African Americans in the United States, and they had a whole conference about this. Look at this. The vision of this country was first promulgated by Malcolm X Society on March 31st, 1968. Now, by the way, Malcolm X, I believe, died in 1965, if I'm not mistaken. So this was people that were basically followers of Malcolm X. And Malcolm X did talk about being separated from all oppressors. Okay, so that's where the idea came up. And remember, he also stayed in Detroit. Malcolm X, remember, was from he was from Nebraska. He stayed in Detroit. He was known as Detroit Red. That was one of his nicknames. Okay. So it says on March 31st, 1968, at a Black government conference held in Detroit, Michigan, the conference participants drafted a Constitution and Declaration of Independence, and they identified 5 southern states, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina, while adjoining areas in East Texas and North Florida as subjugated national territory. Now, I will say this. Hypothetically, if Black people were to have their own country, hypothetically, okay, and you did not know about you being an Israelite, and you did not know about a Messiah, that's probably your best bet is going to be to propose a separate state and territory. And if you look at those areas, these areas have the largest concentration of so-called Black people, collectively. They know it as the Black Belt, right? So that makes sense why they would propose those territories, because then it'll also be easier for those that are slightly outside of those boundaries to just migrate in. Okay, so it makes sense that they proposed this. So this was well thought out in regards to the territory that they would desire. Okay, so the notable members that were in this, okay, which is very interesting. Look at some of these names. Queen Mother Moore. If you got anybody in your movement that's called Queen Mother, your movement already dead. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Your movement is already dead. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna be laughing. We all gonna be laughing at you. Okay. It's over. It's over. So yeah, Queen Mother is you done. You tell me you got a woman among you and her name is Queen Mother Moore, out of there, Jack. Now, and here's the thing. I will say for sisters that are in the truth, that are really, that really desire for us to get out of this captivity and to get back our homeland, you do have an important role of being a supporter and in being an encourager, especially to the men that are sincere and leading as examples in the truth. So it's not that we have a problem with women being helpers in the agenda of our freedom and getting out of our captivity. It's just that a woman saying she's Queen Mother, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. Okay. And we know where that's coming from. That comes from, bowing down at the altar of the Black Madonna. Okay. And we're not down with that. We're not down with no Queen Atalaya types. Okay. Then you got Betty Shabazz, the widow of Malcolm X. And that makes sense because she understood what her husband was about. He was about separation. So she was the second vice president of the first administration in 1968, working alongside Williams and Henry. Then you had Chokwe Lumumba and Sophia Bukari, who was a former Black Panther Party and Black Liberation Army member. Now, interestingly enough, a lot of what was going on too was so many of these groups were infiltrated. That was part of the issue too. So none of these groups could ever have a person that was not going back, snitching on them, saying what they were trying to do next. This is just the reality. That's the reason why these movements failed. The gospel in of itself cannot fail. The movement cannot fail because it's an indestructible movement. It's a temple made without hands. Okay. And like Yahweh Shai said when he prayed to talk to the Father, he said, of them that you has given me, I have lost none of them. And he said, no man can take them out of my hand. Okay. He basically said, save the son of perdition. Okay. Or the one who would betray him. That was all by design. But if you think that this is particular thing that we're in is an indestructible movement, by the way, because even if we pass away, as long as the message is being carried by other disciples, the message still continues, and those that are part of the elect are going to still be brought back and reign as joint heirs with Yahushua HaMashiach and in taking down the oppressor. Okay? So, this is him right here, Monster Cody. He changed his name to Sanyika Shakur. Okay? So he was part of that as well. And they had had their own little prison gang that were members of, that were a part of that. Okay, because they believed that this was the solution for our trouble as a people, but this was not going to work. But this really happened. I don't know if they actually showed where they shut everything down. Yeah, because look at here. Additionally, it was involved with shootouts in New Bethel Baptist Church in 1969 during the 1-year anniversary of the founding, and another in Jackson, Mississippi in 1971. It had announced that the capital of the republic would be in Hinds County, Mississippi, which is basically where Jackson is, located on a member's farm. All you guys that are, talking about getting land and farming and having animals and things like that, these people, the federal government can come and invade your farm. Okay, just take note on that. In the confrontation, law enforcement officials were killed and injured. Okay. Organization members were persecuted for the crimes, and members claimed they acted in self-defense. And that was pretty much the end of their movement. That's why you didn't hear much about it. Okay. And they had real legit people, as you saw the names, legit people that was really about that work, but it didn't come to fruition. Okay. Because it's not of the Lord. So it came to naught. All right. So we're going to go back to this guy, this false leader. And we're going to hear some of the rest of what he had to say. Again, this is a live stream. Clout chasing Israelites don't have the solution. Okay. And that's what we're kind of going over. All right. So let's hear what this guy has to say.
Yeah, see, I'm not opposed to that.
Problem solved.
So you don't want white people to do it for you and give you handouts.
Who would? What real man wants?
No man would, but tons of black guys say that. That's what I'm saying.
As far as I'm concerned, they're not a man.
You. See, I can respect you. I respect that.
Yeah, like no man wants, especially if he's been oppressed by white people.
It's dehumanizing.
Exactly. You don't want to, come and be under some guy who's you always listen. I say this all the time on the street, and tell me what you think, Jake. I tell people all the time, what you ask us to do, you would have never asked the Jews after World War II. Imagine if you told the Jews after World War II, you got to go back to Germany. Even though they raised this against you, you got to work with the Germans. And even if it takes 100 years, you got to try to, show the Germans that you're a human. That's what we had to do. They didn't go for that. They got the hell out of there. The minute they got a chance at the state of Israel, they got the hell away from the Germans. And to this day,
he does have a point. He was right. That is a big difference with our situation and the situation of the so-called, them people. Them people claimed that they were hated in Europe, being exterminated, and they did not want to go back to Germany. They didn't want to go back to Europe, and they needed their own homeland. The world behind them, particularly with the British, the West, the United States, created the partition in which they divided the land with the Palestinians, the homeland, which is actually prophecy, by the way, and they were settled in there. But our people were freed. Can you imagine if you go back into the book of Exodus, Pharaoh's putting the burden, having post-birth deletions of babies, male Israelite babies, which is how Moses was actually supposed to not be alive, but he was spared by the midwife, and the rest is history. But imagine if they were freed and then were told after the atrocities, stay under Pharaoh. So these people what they did to our people was freaking evil. Like what he said is so true, is you can't get around that. You can't compare the plight of so-called black people in America and the natives of the Americas to them small hats, which, that stuff that allegedly happened, the hoax, you can't go too deep into it because we are, we got to be, but those that know, the hoax that they said happened, okay, between them years during World War II, they were able to bamboozle the masses to believe that it happened. To this day, they still promoting that. But what was the reparation, the restitution? Okay, nothing but sharecropping and being underneath a people that despise you even more because you're free. Because they only can look at you as being free if they granting you freedom at any given time. Okay.
to this day, Jake, 54, almost 50 years later, over 50 years later, the Germans are still paying reparations to them.
Yep, they are.
Now, what did we get? What did we get?
Much.
We had to be forced to try and live with our slave master who was lynching us, raping us, castrating us, burning us up in pots, murdering us, lynching and everything else. We had to learn how to live with that kind of a man.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. So I'm opposed to reparations.
Ooh, that got Jake there. So I'll give General Johanna credit, but the solution was wrong, bruh. The solution was wrong. It was dead wrong. See, and you're going to talk about, and this is the interesting thing about this. He's talking about the small hats getting the land, but you did not say that was the land that we're supposed to get. Isn't it interesting how back to back, the solution that he gave Jake Shields was that give us basically a new Republic of New Africa within the United States and call it Black America. But then right after that, he used the small hat situation and how they got the land, the promised land that belongs to the true children of Israel. And he just skipped over the fact that that is the land of the Israelites, of the people that you claim that you're representing. But you just told this man as an Israelite that you need the Black America. You need states to be given 15% of the land mass. And that's just all we need. Are y'all seeing the madness, or am I tripping? Am I tripping? Because I'm wondering, maybe I'm tripping. Because it sounds crazy to me. So let's go ahead and continue on playing this a little bit more, and we'll eventually get some other precepts as well.
But I would rather give you reparations than send money to fucking Israel. Which it's insane to me that we do that. If we had,
are you opposed to paying a man for what he?
You don't want to send money to Israel, but Yohana is yet to correct him on who the real Israelites are, while this man is calling them Israel.
What he's worked for? Are you opposed to us the land that's due us, and we can get the hell? You can build y'all a country. And his kids find out that he was not given what he was supposed to be given.
Watch, you're going to bring up the solution again, Akim.
Given and goes to court. There's not a judge in America that would not say, give this man or woman the money that's owed them. So what I'm saying is, yes, the bill is high. The bill is super high, but the work was high. We built y'all a country. We built it with our hands and feet and our babies and our torture and everything. Pay us the land that's due us, and we can get the hell. You can have these cities back. You want New York and Chicago and Tennessee back, and have them.
You see how he's talking? This man is in shades in a bright studio, bruh. Can you imagine? This dude is in the studio. He even got a hat over his head. Then he got the shades on. So he got the hat over his head, basically, which is going to cover up the light that's already coming from the ceilings or whatever. Then he got the glasses on. This guy's a freaking charlatan, bro. And you got men in the Israelite community following this guy. We gotta call these people out too, because we gotta let brothers know, like, some brothers and sisters, y'all be following these different people and they be misleading y'all and got y'all thinking like them. That's what we gotta call them out. Because if we don't, y'all gonna think that everything is cool. That's how y'all got these unified Israelite camps of different doctrines, but their common bond is they call themselves Israelite. We're about the truth, the way, and the life. We can't go around another way.
I would give you a couple states.
A couple states. I can't get my paycheck.
How many states do you want? How many? I don't really give you my money. You don't have,
whatever it is. Whatever 15% of the land is, we're owed it.
It would be tricky to do. It'd have to be voluntary because a lot of black people aren't going to want to leave either.
You see that? He's still talking about getting land in America. And like I said, a lot of these guys, you got people in the Israelite community that are now saying that the United States is the promised land. This kind of goes into the mindset. And what happens is when the people have been in a place for so long, they view it as home. And because this is the only thing you're familiar with, this is the only message that will actually resonate with most of our people. If you tell people that they're Israelites, but guess what? This is the promised land and they took it from us and we just need it back. Now you're going to get into the mindset of wanting to negotiate land just like he's doing.
They don't have to leave right away. Black people, we work together. You give us the land, those that want to go, we'll start building it.
You see? This is why we have to get into this stuff right here. Let me get into this tab. This guy's a goofball, man. Crazy goofball. Let's go. We're going to have to get to this guy. This is... Oh, my goodness. Boy, oh, boy. So let's go ahead and read it. This is Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 1. Woe be unto the pastors to destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith the Lord. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God of Israel, against the pastors that feed my flock, ye have scattered my flock and driven them away, and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doing, saith the Lord. And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all the countries whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. And I will set up shepherds over them, which shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking, saith the Lord. Because right now, with the way this man is talking, he's not feeding the flock properly, and he's clearly having them in lack. which they're lacking in knowledge. Okay, and it says that's why it says, for a lack of knowledge, the people perish. This guy is not giving the knowledge that is relevant to what the people need to hear. Okay, you're talking with the oppressor. The oppressor sitting there smirking, entertaining your goofy ass, knowing damn well that over his dead body will he give you the land, any piece of land in this country. Okay, that he feels like his forefathers fought, bled, and died for. And then you gonna hand it over to you for the free? Nah, they ain't doing that, buddy. But you play into that. Verse 5, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and the king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. Now that righteous branch is Yahweh HaMashiach. That's what you should be talking about. Okay? This is really the solution. The solution we're bringing is right here. You can read the solution right here in Jeremiah chapter 23. The solution is right here. It's summarized. It's a summarized solution. You can get the rest of it by understanding the gospel message in its entirety. Okay? But this is the solution being presented. Verse 6, in his days, Judah shall be saved and Israel shall dwell safely. This is the southern and northern kingdom. This is the same one that's brought up in regards to Jeremiah 31, Hebrews 8:8, where it talks about the new covenant with Judah and with Israel. Going to come through the righteous branch. That's going to have Judah is going to be saved and Israel's going to be safe, dwell safely. Okay, and this is his name whereby he shall be called Yahweh, or the Lord our righteousness. Okay, that is a nickname because righteousness is found in Yahweh HaMashiach. That's why Paul and the apostles, the rest of the apostles, talk about righteousness in Mashiach Yahweh Shai. Okay, because the righteousness of the Most High is found within Yahweh HaMashiach. Okay, and all those that have faith of him in him, they're gonna take hold onto that. Verse 7, therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that they shall no more say, Yahweh liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, but Yahweh liveth, which brought up the children of Israel, or brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country. He don't want us to leave the north country. This man right here does not want us to leave the north country. This is the prophecy. We're not supposed to build here and create a Republic of Black America like this guy's talking about. We're supposed to be this. We're supposed to be brought up and which led the seed out of the house of Israel out of the north country and from all the countries whither I have driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. You are even admitting by your verbiage that America is not only your own land, but you got to ask this man. You got to ask this man to give you a piece of the land that he controls. The Most High says they're going to dwell in their own land. We're going to be brought up out the north country and all the countries where we were scattered. Why would we stay in the north country and ask to be right next door to a group of people that hate you? Makes no sense. Makes no sense at all.
And as it builds, black people going to rush up out of America.
I think it'd be fair to do that and give you a little money to help build it and shit. But I just don't want to throw straight cash to black people because a lot of them are going to do dumb shit with it. It's going to be gone, and then the next generation is not going to have.
Well, first of all, that's another myth about black people. Wants to have self-esteem.
I'm obviously not
people whose land it really is.
We're the ones giving them the money for it and everything. Yeah, no.
This and that. Maybe we could do something, but we could come together.
Now, I haven't heard the rest of this, so let's see what he has to say on this.
Tomorrow and do amazing things. Once again, the real right solution, a just man would say, give them a portion of this land. nobody had a problem with it when they did it for Israel. Everybody says, oh, I don't know if we could give you that, this and that. Maybe we could do something. But you had no problem when Israel came in and there were other people on the land.
He's yet to refer to these people as imposters. Have you peeped that, Akim? He's on here clout chasing with Jake Shields, a former MMA fighter. And this is what he's talking about. He has yet to call these people imposters. See, some of these people are on payroll, man. I'm wondering, you know, this is why Tazariak, man, the fact that you still want to be under this type of guy, it says a lot about you, bro. It's almost like you need the banner of ICBK to kind of make yourself feel relevant or something. It's crazy. But again, he don't got the gospel either, you know. So that's a whole nother ballgame in and of itself, you know. But just keep it going.
You didn't even.
Yeah, it wasn't their land to give.
It wasn't
yeah,
even their land to give. And you still helped them get it, and now you're helping them exterminate the people whose land it really is.
Oh,
come on now, dog. Come on, man. Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
This dude just said. This guy just said that the land really belongs to them other people, bro. Let's hear that again. This is ridiculous, dude. This is madness, man. This is madness.
This and that, maybe we could do something. But you had no problem when Israel came in, and there were other people on the land. You didn't even.
Yeah, it wasn't their land to give.
It wasn't even their land to give. And you still helped them get it, and now you're helping them exterminate the people whose land it really is.
Helping them exterminate the people whose land it really is. So this clown is saying that basically the Palestinians are the rightful owners of that land, whose land it really is. This is ridiculous, dog. This is crazy. And this is the reason why we can't have an honest conversation with these people in this Israelite community, bro. It's hard because you guys are so insincere. Which one of you guys from the ICBK is going to sit down and get your crazy drunk uncle and tell him to shut his mouth and tell him he's wrong? But y'all ain't going to say nothing because y'all done made this man the commanding General Yohana, and if you're not under him, you're not in the truth. This is similar to how y'all allowed that guy Comfy to go and call himself the comforter, and y'all never stopped him and kicked him out. Now y'all's whole thing is in disarray. This is crazy work, Akim. This is crazy work. I can't even believe this guy said this.
We're the ones giving them the money for it and everything. Yeah, no, I'd be about giving, you know, black people chunks of land to build their own communities.
No, I don't want chunks of land, Jake. I want my paycheck. 15%.
I don't know if I'm down with.
See what I'm saying?
This dude wants some FRNs, man. He wants them Benjamins. This dude want a promissory note, man. This guy want to make it rain at Magic City. This dude wants to have something he can flex on, and he can drive around in Babylon so he can flex. This is a clown, man. Straight up circus show.
I can't convince it.
With my money, I start getting stingy.
15% of the land, I think everything else would be good. You know what I mean? And listen, and it should be, here, let me tell you something. It should be in America's interest to get black people situated right, because Pharaoh went against that too. And Pharaoh lost his whole kingdom over it.
Here's a goofball Negro talking. Did you know that the Israelites, we actually had our own separate landmass, okay? Let me give this to you real quick. Hold on. What was it called? Give me a moment. I'm actually going to pull up a landmass, a map actually, to show you we had our own land. Okay? Because this guy's a stupid clown. And this is why, this is why brothers need to know history, Akim, because this guy, this man is dangerous, bro. And this shows you that the truth is very hard to find, bro. It's this guy, bro. I'm telling you, it's man, your head starts to hurt when you hear guys like this, bro. Watch this. Because what he's actually proposing is actually something that is sometimes I wonder if our people are slow or stupid. You know, the Bible calls us sottish people, but golly, bro. Like, for crying out loud, man. Like, no wonder Esau feel like he gonna dominate us forever, bro. I would feel the same way too. You know what I'm saying? If I was an Edomite, I'd be like, man, these people ain't never gonna rise up. You know what I'm saying? But let me get this map real quick for y'all, because I don't know what happened here. They had to kind of do some weird things. Okay, so y'all see here, Akim, make sure it's showing up on the projector. Y'all see here, Akim, you have the land of Goshen, which is basically where the children of Israel stayed. Okay, and let me get that precept for y'all, because this guy's talking about get us our own land. We actually had our own land separate from the Egyptians. Okay, and I'm gonna show y'all when that occurred. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get this. This is in Genesis chapter 45. We'll start at verse 9. Okay, so this is after the patriarchs and their children, along with their father Jacob, during the time of the famine in the land of Canaan, they had to go to Egypt for sustenance. And of course, Joseph, who was already in Egypt as a second in command over all of Egypt, basically the governor, he was able to get them a land that they would dwell in, okay, during this time. And that's where we occupied. Now, it says here, haste ye and go up to my father and say unto him, thus saith thy son Joseph, God hath made me Lord of all Egypt. Come down unto me and tarry not, and thou shalt dwell in the land of Goshen. Thou shalt be near unto me, thou and thy children and thy children's children, and thy flocks and thy herds, and all that thou hast. So that's where the children of Israel ended up staying, the land of Goshen. Okay, and this is before we were captive of the Egyptian empire, and during it, but all the way up until the time we left. Okay, and let me see if I could show that as well. Oh shoot, this is a crazy thing. I actually had a map, but for whatever reason, the map is not mapping. The map is not mapping. Okay, so you see here, Genesis 47:7, land, O Goshen, let your father and brothers settle in the best land we have for grazing. Let them live in Goshen. Okay, Genesis 47:7. This basically was the Nile River Delta. Okay, the main city was Avaris. Here's Cairo, Egypt, down here. Okay, so you see here from Hebron, it says Jacob leaves Hebron, he moves to Egypt to escape drought. So Jacob, which includes also the other of his children outside of course, Joseph, who was already in Egypt, they left Hebron and they took the trek and they got here and they settled in Avaris and they occupied the land of Goshen, which is basically the Nile River Delta. Okay, you see it's not too far from Israel. Just got to get past the wilderness desert. Once you get past this desert route, you can get to fertile land, which is existed over here. So by General Yohana, okay, by him saying that giving us our own land will help us, that didn't help us when we had the land of Goshen. So ultimately, we still needed to get our own territory away from our oppressors. We needed to be freed. Okay. Now, the land of Goshen and a good chunk of the land of Egypt is actually part of the divine territory that was promised to Abraham. Okay. So, but to say that we need to be neighbors with them, that didn't help us. We were building up the cities and all the artifacts of these Egyptians during the captivity. And we still had our own land at the same time. So that just tells you, if you are to be side by side with a people stronger than you, they're going to basically use you. What's going to happen is, let me go back to this map, by the way. I'm going to just give y'all paint a picture. If we got this territory, similar to how our forefathers had the land of Goshen, and look at this, there's a delta too, okay? Isn't that interesting? Just like there was a Nile Delta, there's a Mississippi Delta. If we got this land to ourselves, you know what would happen? These Edomites would continue to build up with their FRN, okay? Because you're not going to have the petrodollar. If you created this, you would not have you would not have your own petrodollar, your world reserve currency. So you'd have a weaker currency under their fake banking system. They would deplete the value of your currency. And what would happen is you're going to have economic migrants leaving and going back to work under the people that they fled from, because they control the economy. They would not view you as equal trading partners. How do we know this? Look what they did to places like Puerto Rico. They impoverished Puerto Rico. Look at places like they did with Guam, the natives of Hawaii, American Samoa, U.S. Virgin Islands. The list goes on and on. They don't improve anything. If you're still next to them or tied to them, you will degrade. You will go to a lower version of yourself. Okay? So it's very important to understand.
Make no mistake, God is still in heaven and he still rules all. And if you give him enough time and you be cruel enough, long enough, like Pharaoh was, you might wake up with some plagues. You know what I mean? And then when them plagues come, nobody can tell what's going to happen next. And white America, if they believe in, if white nationalists and white Christians that believe in God, you should reread that story of Exodus before you decide you want to be cruel and exterminate people off the earth, right or wrong.
Well, I give them credit on that. Here's the thing. These people that you're talking to, these so-called white nationalists, quote unquote Edomites, one thing about them, they don't believe in karma. Karma doesn't exist. The only time karma exists is if they feel like you harmed or did them wrong and they're going to get theirs back. But anything they do to other people, they don't feel that they're going to get that back. They don't feel the karma on that. Even though deep down inside, they feel like they know that they deserve retribution. They deserve it. But deep down, they don't believe divinely that they should get it. Okay?
Yeah, no, I think there's, like I said, there's definitely some issues between black and white people.
Sure.
I think like we disagree a little bit. I think a lot of the Jews are the ones driving it, but there is.
This dude wants to, these, you know, this is what these Edomites do. They deflect to their big brother, small hat, to their big small hat wearing brother, Amalek. They deflect and say, well, it's not really us, it's really them. Okay, bro. So let me guess, when you look at all the plantation owners, those all small hats, when you look at all the people that were, you know, doing the brutalizing of those that were held captive, the brutalizing of those that were later freed during the Reconstruction era, the Jim Crow era, those were all small hats. So the red shirts, the Ku Klux Klan, those are all small hats, right? Jake Shields. Is that what you're trying to say? See, you can't have You can't have those of us that really are armed with the knowledge of the truth on a show like this. He'd have to basically destroy the podcast. He wouldn't even have it up, because by the time we talk to him for 15 minutes, he gonna fold like a lawn chair, and then you ain't gonna see it up. They're gonna say, what happened with that debate with them guys? Technical difficulties. That's what he's gonna tell you. Just like them guys, when we were armed with the truth of the gospel of Yahushua HaMashiach in regards to baptism, them guys refused to put that up. And like the Spirit had revealed to us, they were going to hide that debate. Okay, but we have it. Just go to our channel, look up baptism debate. Okay, and you're going to hear what happened and what went down. But this guy here, man, this is just crazy work, man. Crazy work.
Some still serious issues, and I think it would make sense to have some separate areas. Some black people aren't going to want to go there, but at least have the option.
Why would they if it's a desert? But once that desert turns into a paradise, black people will run out of here faster than you could even blink. They probably leave all that they have and get up out of here. Black people love you because they gotta love you to survive. To survive, they gotta put all that's been done to them aside to go to work every day.
Oh, let's get that real quick. Okay, let's get that real quick. There's actually a couple of precepts I can actually think of. See, we're forced to suffer under this demon, these haters of our people. We're forced to, you know. Let me get that real quick. Because we turned away from our Lord. You get that in Deuteronomy chapter 28. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron around thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Do you know that he could have brought up this precept and probably done, turned the tide of the conversation? But he didn't even, we'll see if he brings it up, but that's basically what he was saying. So we'll go ahead and go back to the tab.
But let them have an opportunity to stand on their own feet, to not beg anybody, and to step away from you. They would run out of these cities. Mm-hmm. They would escape and be gone.
A little off subject, but story.
But here's part of the problem. This is the reason why when we talk about the solution, we have to have been transformed and changed inwardly to be able to be given what we want to get, which is the land back, which is other things, right? Restoration of all things, like Yahushua talks about, right? Sick people cannot be given trillions of dollars in modern times worth of wealth and land and resources and survive. We can't. Because if you give that to us now, we'll give it right back to our oppressors. Okay. So somebody made a comment, Michelle, good game. So why be mad at the Gentile? The Lord said this will happen. Well, oppression maketh the wise man mad. I'm going to tell you this, Michelle. I don't know what your background is, but the day is going to come where you're going to see thousands upon thousands of so-called black people in America deleted by these same people. And we'll see how mad you are on that day if you're able to even see that. Will you be able to stomach that day when it comes upon us? Because I'm telling our brothers and sisters to prepare for that to happen. Prepare to see this look like the real Purge movie, even worse than that. Now, with him, this false leader, General Yohana, he's not going to talk about that. Okay? Just because we know that something would come to pass doesn't mean that we're not gonna. It's just like it's like think about it like this, right? when Yahushua chose Judas Iscariot as one of his apostles, he literally said, haven't I chosen you 12 and one of you's the devil? So he knew he was going to get betrayed by him. When Judas Iscariot later betrayed him for 30 pieces of silver, he still was mad at him, even though he knew he was going to betray him. So why then was Yahushua still mad at Judas Iscariot, even though he knew he was going to betray him? That's the question for you, Michelle. Because why would he say, woe unto him who betrayeth the Son of Man? For it would have been better for him that he would not have been born. Why aren't you upset at Yahushua for being mad at him when he knew from the beginning that he was going to betray him on the day he even chose him to be an apostle? Yeah. Food for thought. You do the dishes. I'll be waiting for your response. And again, welcome to the stream. Shalom to you, brothers and sisters, those of y'all that are sincere, that are in the place to be, even though it's not a large room. Hey, the truth is going to be heard only by a few. All right? It's only going to be heard by a few. I'm glad that y'all are here for the show. So yeah, man, this is what we're dealing with. Okay? Because, you know, it's see, what people think that we're dealing with is something that happened in time past. And a lot of people are saying they're denying racism exists, they're denying oppression. People are telling, even you got among our people, the COONs of our people, who are saying racism was done away with. Stop the victim mentality. They're saying that the only reason why we're thinking something's going on because we're believing it and we're making ourselves victims. Okay. And those are especially the likes of those that are in the Christian sphere, the ones in the right-wing conservative sphere. Okay. Some of these same right-wing conservatives call themselves Christians, and they'll tell us that we're complaining. Your Anton Daniels of the world, your Anthony Brian Logans, your Officer Tatums, your Hodge twins. They're acting as if those times are a time of the past. Meanwhile, the rise of white nationalists, aka Edom Esau, they're promoting that they want to put our people back in chains. Shout out to the brother El Gallo. Yeah, so everybody, this is where people talk about, oh, why be mad at this if we knew about it? We have the right to be mad. We have the right to be mad at oppression. We have the right to call it out. Thou shalt not muzzle the ox that treadeth out the corn. You will not hold back our voice until the day of the Lord be here. Okay? So Michelle is saying it had to happen, and it was, he had to die for the sin of the people, and he was a sheep. If not, we would still be in our sin and no more animals dying for our sin. Well, we still have to endure to the end. Okay? So ultimately, we still have to endure to the end. It was the Lord's will that he sent Yahushua of the seed of David through Joseph. Okay. And he was given as a living sacrifice, as a sacrifice for the elect. But make no mistake, the work is not yet done. We still have to continue to preach, teach, and endure to the end. Sisters are going to have to get in line. And right here, you know, we talked about it. We're running a tight ship. Sisters that are not in line will get left behind. I'm going to tell you that right now. You will be left behind. So sisters got to get in order, get in line, because we're not even playing no games anymore. We have the right amount of what we hope is the grace and mercy to show to those that will follow. But those that won't, they will be left to their own devices. Okay. So that's the reason why we have to have shows like this. We got to tell you also who not to follow. And guess what? This is a thing. This is discourse really for the men, because at the end of the day, we're the ones that have to defend our position. Men are going to be the ones that are going to have to push forth the proper doctrine. And we'll have to continue on moseying about. Okay. So, but yeah, a lot of times people don't like when those of us that are believers show grit and determination, show masculinity. Okay. We're not among those. We're not sounding like this guy. This guy right here. Hold on, let me get this guy real quick, because this is who y'all, a lot of them want us to sound like. A lot of women, and some of these men, they want us to sound like this guy. They want us to sound soft like him.
I want you to know that you are Hebrew Israelite. You can be here, but you cannot spread your doctrine here. You cannot give out pamphlets in the parking lot. We will hunt you down and put you out, or we will win you to the Lord Jesus. You cannot spread your false doctrine here. You will be exposed. You cannot preach that false doctrine here, but you're welcome to be here among us, but you're not welcome to spread your false.
That makes no sense. You don't want them to spread the false doctrine that you claim is false, yet at the same time, they can be among you. That doesn't make any sense. That's not hard line. If you spreading false doctrine, you can't be sitting around fellowshipping with us. We don't fellowship with non-believers. You don't fellowship with those that are basically pushing something false. That's why you have to remove those that are heretics. It says a heretic after the second admonition reject, knowing he perverteth and sinneth. Remove him. That's what they did during the time of the apostles. They removed guys that were pushing false doctrine. There was even a couple of brothers that pushed that the resurrection had already passed and overthrew the faith of some. They had to get rid of them guys. So that's a soft way of viewing this. He's not a hardliner. He's a soft shoer. Huh? That's what we're talking about. We can't do that. We can't do that. Okay. I agree. Hopefully you're talking about him, because you ain't talking about me. But yeah, that man is a fool. How are you gonna tell the people that that they shouldn't bring around that they shouldn't be pushing a false doctrine, but at the same time you want them to fellowship with you and come up in the arena to sit and listen to you when they think your doctrine is false? That's fake friends. That is like, this is what our people do. Y'all be going to the idolatrous Thanksgiving dinner knowing damn well you don't like your mama. You don't like your mama, you don't like your sister, you don't like your brother, you don't like your uncle, but you're going to go and fake friends and basically say, now everybody, Big Mama going to come through, everybody come together now and put aside y'all's differences, and we just going to enjoy this Thanksgiving dinner. And as soon as somebody wants to bring up their grievance, all hell break loose. You think people are going to be sitting there if they disagree with your doctrine and you have hundreds, you put 500 of them IUIC members inside that State Farm arena, and they're going to listen to you telling them that their oppressor that enslaved them is going to be saved in the kingdom, and they're going to have to sit back there and not say anything. And they're not going to have no objections, but they're just going to be singing Kumbaya. Get out of here. That's these Christians. That's what these Christians are on. That man surely is a fool. He is definitely a fool. Okay? So yeah, that guy there is just, come on, man. Like, is anybody home? And is anybody home? Because come on, man. But yeah, it's crazy work, man. It's crazy work. It's crazy work we're dealing with in these last days. And this man is probably even crazier because he actually believes he's an Israelite. That's actually what makes him crazier. The stuff that his solutions that he's proposing. Huh?
Sure. Top of my head, I was thinking for a while I was teaching martial arts in a mostly all black, really bad neighborhood. Right. And it felt good. I remember one of these days, one of these kids come to me, he goes, I've never been comfortable around a white person. That kind of relates to what we were talking about earlier. And that kind of was like a shock to me. Like, that was like a whoa.
A lot of white people were
like, he couldn't even look me in the eyes and stuff at first. And that was kind of like a, oh shit, he feels like because you're talking about feeling less to me, like, oh, he feels like a less to me almost. And it's like, there you go. And he said, oh, I'm actually finally comfortable around you. That was like a whoa moment to me. Like, I didn't know people had these feelings.
Being white, you almost never know. But being black, we always know.
Now, by the way, and like I said before, being quote unquote white is not a problem. I'm going to say that again. Being quote unquote white is not a problem. It's not an issue. Like we've shown you, the Israelites are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Your lineage is not based on your phenotype. Your biblical lineage is not based on your phenotype. Now, the thing is, the overwhelming majority of so-called white people are indeed heathen. And their actions and their behavior, according to prophecy that came to pass, shows it. Now, because we were a scattered people, we've always been around other groups of people and reproduced. The men reproduced. And over time, some of them did come out looking like modern day, what we would call white people. That's why I had lessons, okay, that I've done in time past to kind of show you those type of situations that can occur where you have multi-generational lineage on the paternal side ending up looking a certain way. Let me see if I could show it too. I'm gonna just recommend for some of y'all. Oh yeah, let me actually do it this way. I keep forgetting. I don't know why I did it like that. Hold up. Let me go to your videos or something like that. Switch account. Oh yeah, your channel. Here it is. Let's go to one of the videos that I could recommend. I have a series. Okay. I have a series called House. Let me actually put it up right here. It's called House of Their Fathers, white, and I have in parentheses, invisible black British footballers. Okay, now this is an older video. You see inside the video, House of Their Fathers, white British descendants of Israelite men. Okay, and here is from a post that was on Instagram, which had a snippet of a story from England about these descendants, the white descendants of black British Georgians. Okay, because you had over there black people that were living in Britain, some of those that were brought enslaved, Also, there was a prior group of black British people that existed going back to the Middle Ages. Okay. And you could even look up different family crests in the British Isles that were black men. Okay. That's why even the son of King James, Prince Charles, his nickname was the Black Boy. You can look it up. Because when they started calling people black in the New World, and that started becoming a term, because usually back then they used to call the people Moors, which was an old term for black people that went back all the way to the ancient Greek period. And that kind of stuck around. Then eventually when English switched it up, they started calling them black. And then that's how the term black kind of stuck later on. So you can watch these videos for that information to get a good understanding of what we're talking about. So just because somebody is white doesn't mean that they can't be an Israelite. But like we always say, in order for you to be a believer, in order for you to be a true believer in Yahushua HaMashiach and have faith in him, you have to be an Israelite. Because only those that are of the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob have the ability to be of faith. That's the key thing. That's the key. Okay. And she says here, well, some of your white people believe this teaching that some black people stiff-necked Israelites. Well, I don't know. I don't understand the last part of your stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's some white people that do believe, so-called white people that believe that so-called black people are indeed Israelites. But there's a lot of so-called black people that believe that so-called white people, particularly them small hats, are Israelites instead of them. There's a lot of them. In fact, that's the majority of our people believe that those people that are in the land are the true people of God. But prophetically, they fit Esau, Edom, as it was in the last days. If you read the book of Ezekiel 35, 36, you see that the Edomites was going to take over the land in the last days. They were going to occupy it as their own and take it and cast it as a prey, to where they would say that they are the people of the book. And it will be their whole family of Edom that would then go into the conspiracy to disenfranchise us from our identity and give the identity to their own, and then utilize that propaganda against the rest of the world for them to follow suit and believe them. Because much of the world, a large chunk of the world's population is nominally Christian. You know, it's the most popular religion on the planet, followed by Islam. I think third maybe Hinduism or Buddhism, more than likely Hinduism. But yeah, so I mean, this is kind of a big play, because the fact is people have belief systems, and if you can make people believe that your belief system is, and your salvation through your belief system is predicated on you believing that these are the true people of God, and you know, if you actually mistreat the people of God, it comes back on you. You can probably be careful for what you say about the people that you think are the people of God, even if they're not really the people of God. Okay.
I just couldn't believe to hear that. It was such a shock to me.
We see that kid tighten up in his chest the minute you walk through the door. We already know how he feels. You guys don't.
Hey guys, I'm a self-funded podcast, so if you want to support me and the work I'm doing, go to Fight Back.
That's it. And after Martin Luther King, we lost it all. And the reason we lost.
And by the way, brothers and sisters, I'm going through this so I can hear the whole solution. You know, it says, judge not before you hear the whole matter, understand first, then rebuke. So as we're hearing it, I'm understanding what he's saying. If he's correct, I give him props. If he's wrong, I have to do correction. So we're almost done with this particular section. And then we're going to go off with some precepts to close this particular, live stream. And, thank you for your patience, y'all's support. This helps encourage us to continue on and to continue to fight the good fight of faith, to let the truth be known in these last days.
It all is the same reason you have a humongous list of burned and disappeared cities in America. America built highways right through black cities, burnt down black cities, and way more than Wilmington, North Carolina, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. White people burned down tons of black cities. A lot of people don't know. Do you know that Central Park in New York City was a black town?
I did not know that.
It was a huge black town. You know what they did?
It was like below Harlem.
They burnt, yeah, right below Harlem. You know what they did? Blacks were up top, coming down, had that beautiful town. They burnt the town down and turned it into a park for white people.
Yeah.
Now white people have a wonderful park, and black people are buried underneath.
Black people rarely use.
You see that? A lot of stories like this with these people. You got to remember, this whole United States is built on top of the bones of the natives, of the northern tribes. So these people have no, like, they're really, their level of, the reason why Esau is so, has been able to do what he's been able to do the last 500 years, because nobody is as ruthless as him. He doesn't step off the pedal when he's looking to destroy and conquer people. And he doesn't have no guilt. He's a psychopath. That's what they're, as a people, they are naturally psychopathic in nature, because that's the only way that they can be such a small population and literally take over the whole earth and literally control and force people into subjugation, and then hold on to that power for this long. And when it's brought up, they kind of like start deflecting. But even though they start deflecting, the next day they're going to do exactly what you told them that they're doing, after they denied it or after they said it wasn't as bad as you say it is. Very interesting people. Very interesting people. Because being an Edomite is deeper than skin. It's a way of thinking. It's a very deep psychological disposition towards lies, mischief, deceit, falsehood. I mean, the whole 9 yards, everything. Just like Satan, come to rob, kill, and destroy. Like, they ain't playing. They taking no prisoners. You get in their way, they rolling you over. That's their mentality.
The part.
There you go. You understand? And that's another myth. The myth is that black people don't do nothing. The black people are lazy. The black people don't build anything. All I say is if they build something, don't burn it down. If they invent something, don't steal it. You know how many inventions black people have had that have been stolen by white men? There are thousands, tens of thousands. I mean, we damn near invented everything. We built your country like the Hebrews built Egypt. And yet we are looked at like we are filthy and we are worthless and we don't work and we're real violent and we're on drugs. All of these are propaganda myths.
I mean,
that white people believe.
But
see, and here's the thing, the problem. Here's one of the reasons why I don't really waste my time talking to these types, these Jake Shield types, because at the end of the day, we're not trying to reason with unreasonable people. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's not what we're here to do. Okay? We're supposed to sit down and reason with our people and those that will be willing to hear, but going out of our way to talk to a man who has a podcast, and then the way he's doing it, he's not even doing it in a way that at least you can edify the audience if they're listening. Meaning, don't factor him and try and win him over. The audience, the people that may be Christian, that may hear the message of, but he has no solution. He has no gospel message. This is the reason why, again, title of the live stream is Clout Chasing Israelites don't have the solution. They don't have the solution. Okay? Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, I'll say this. I mean, I have people that are quote unquote white in my family because my grandfather had multiple wives and they had multiple sons. Both my grandfathers had multiple wives, multiple sons. And I have some that are descendants of them that look so-called white. So yeah, not all white people are bad, but white is a subjective term. It's not really concrete. It's just really more of a descriptive term that was given to people that were primarily first from Western Europe, Anglo-Saxon and Germanic, and then they later gave it to other groups who they later deemed as white. So even the identity of itself is complex. But yeah, there was a lot of people. You had the John Brown who fought a slave revolt. He was so-called white. He fought a slave revolt to try and free some slaves, and then ultimately he lost his life. And there's a reason why they'll never do a movie like that. But if they wanted to have a white savior movie, quote unquote white savior movie, a John Brown movie would make sense. You know how people are, oh, he's invited to the cookout. You know how that is. But yeah, not all people that are classified as white today are necessarily bad. Not everybody that's so-called black is necessarily classified as necessarily good either. But I will tell you this: all Edomites are bad. Yes, all Edomites are bad. So I'll put it like that. If you understand that, then you've been listening to us for a while. If you understand that, if I say not all white people are bad, but all Edomites are bad, then that's really the best way to put it.
It's a small group of black people. And something I noticed is very controversial, but you guys were doing a lot better when you had your own communities. When Martin Luther King and shit pushed things, it's a very controversial thing. That's when it started having a lot of problems. Guys like Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey.
So this clown, we're going to call him an Edomite, by the way, because his psychological makeup is that of Esau Edom. A lot of deflecting, a lot of snakish gymnastics he got going on, bruh. Acknowledgement if he wants to at times, deflection in other times. This guy is trying to say that Martin Luther King was the one who made things worse by being a civil rights leader. Now, I will say this, us in hindsight being 2020 now, we know that what Martin Luther King was involved in and what he was used to do, that's why he was always on TV and he was viewed as the voice of the black people in America, the voice of the Negro, was detrimental in the long run. Even he knew it in the end before he died, that he had integrated his people into a burning house. Now, if this guy, Jake Shields, doesn't feel that MLK or Malcolm X had no reason to at least try and do something for the people, I wonder what he thinks was happening at the time. What about the bombing of the church, them girls that died in that church? What about what happened to Medgar Evers, Emmett Till? Forget Rosa Parks. We ride our own damn bus. That could have been the solution. But what about the other people who were disenfranchised? What about all the women and young girls in all these areas that were getting snatched up and assaulted, violated? This is what was going on. This is stuff that they don't even want to talk about. See, I would get on his keister, bro. I would be pressing on Jake Shields. He gonna wish he could get back in the octagon and want to fight me the way I get on him. But we ain't even in the same weight class, bro. I'd maul him like a bear. In the power of Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai. But this guy's over here trying to make light of our oppression, bro. This is the reason why we're mad. This is the reason why we're upset. This is the reason why we got to get on their ass like this. Yes, I'll say that. It's crazy work. Tired of these people, bro. Don't tell me y'all were better back then. I'm gonna ask him. You know, this is why these guys, they are not built to talk and represent us as a people, man. Guys like General Yohana are not to be representatives of the nation, bro. They should not be represented because they don't know what they're talking about. I would have asked him, dude, would you want to be a black man in 1960 in Mississippi? What would you do? What would you do if your people came out of slavery and then became sharecroppers for the next 50 years and then had to go through various lynchings, watch your relatives, probably watch a family member get killed before you, and then you still got to sit there and work underneath the same people that hate you? What would you do, Jake Shields? And you're going to tell us that we had it better then than we do now, when you could still, by law, legally take out black men. Didn't a black man get lynched at Delta State University in Mississippi last month? Then they said it was a suicide. Let's get that real quick. Crazy as hell. Crazy as hell. Talking about you had it better. We had it better back then than today. Let's see if that's true. Look at this article. Mother of Trey Reed, new Black Panther rally at Delta State, alleging death was a lynching because they said it was a suicide. Okay. They said this is Delta State University student DeMartravian Trey Reed was lynched and his murder is being covered up, a black activist organization and his mother alleges. Do you know back then, you know the reason why even back then, today is actually worse now? Because they're denying it. Do you know back then that Mr. Trey Reed was lynched in 1960 in Mississippi? They would have outright said that they lynched him. The Klan, the police officers, the community, the white community, they would have outright admitted, yeah, we lynched him. Today, they can sit in the shadows and deny that they lynched him, go and put a police report and say he killed himself. But Mr. Jake Shields is going to tell you, oh, y'all actually had it better back then. See, this is the reason why a lot of you sisters, y'all need to just not even be talking, because we're going to make you look silly before the congregation. Where did I say all black people are good? Okay. Do you have a husband, sis? Because if you have a husband, you're embarrassing him right now. Never said all black people are good. You got to go back and rewind what I said. Okay. I don't want to prevent people from being able to comment, and there's no way to regulate if women can comment or men can comment. Sometimes questions can be edifying. This is not necessarily, this is a live stream, so it's a little bit different format. I would say this, sister, that if you were fellowshipping with us and you had these questions, you would be relegated to talk to your husband, or to ask, if you don't have a husband, then ask one of the brothers who is in a in a leadership position the question. You know what I'm saying? But as far as that, no. Never said all black people are good. In fact, I said that not all black people are good. Not all white people are good. Or not all white people. I said not all white people are bad and not all black people are good. Okay? So, but these people, they just gonna gaslight us, tell us, hey, by the way, this is what these right-wing white nationalist conservatives saying. By the way, you know you had it good. And then these Negro puppets will go around and then they'll lie. They'll go around and they'll repeat the same things that these white nationalists like Jake Shields are saying. You know, we had it better back then, without proper context. What better in what way? This Trey Reed got killed. and they said that he committed suicide. It wasn't a lynching. 65 years ago, they would have said, not only would they have told you it was lynching, the people that did it would say, and we did it. And what you're going to do about it? At least you know who your enemy is. Now they can operate in the shadows and just lynch black people all around the country and then say, oh, it was it was a suicide. No further investigation. And I think one of the problems that we have in too, as especially people that are coming out of the Christian community, they have a hard time understanding that the Most High deals with nations, and they have a hard time understanding that the Most High punishes nations collectively. Prophets went into captivity that had nothing to do with the idolatry that led to the fall of the nation. Go and read the different books of the prophets, the ones that had to go into captivity because of what was going on with the people. They went into captivity. Prophets went into captivity. Men of the Lord went into captivity when the Babylonians took over. When the Babylonians took over, some of the Lord's servants that were on point, that were warning the people that the Babylonians was going to come if they don't get their right act together, they went into captivity. So it must needs be that the whole nation of Edom has to get their punishment too. Okay? It must needs be, that is the Lord's will. Okay? That is divine justice. See, at the end of the day, if these people wanted to make things right, they could have been made things right with our people. Okay? But they didn't want to. And the Most High knew they weren't going to do it. And even though the Most High knew they weren't going to do it, and even though we know that they're not going to do it, we still have the right to call them out. Because that's what we do over here. This is what we do. We call them out on their BS like we're supposed to. Okay? In fact, there's actually a precept that I was actually thinking about. There's a very interesting precept. Don't know if I'll be able to find it, but because it was a very interesting precept back in the I want to say it was in Wisdom of Solomon, but just kind of came in my head. Let me see if there's actually a way I can, if I could find it. Yes, sir, Bob. Ooh. You know, it might have been Judas. But yeah, we have a long way to go when it comes to we got a long way to go. You know what I'm saying? For a lot of our people to get and understand this, because a lot of people have friends. You might even have not only a friend, but you might have relatives that are not Israelites. And the thought of the fact that those people may be excluded, have chains put around their neck, it bothers people. There's a lot of people that if they knew, they would reject the gospel if they knew it wouldn't accept their mother, because their mother's an Edomite or their mother's of another nation. And we're speaking if they knew for a fact. Like if an angel can show them and say, and come and manifest and say, hey, by the way, you're an Israelite, but your mother isn't. So your mother's not going to get the kingdom. Your mother's, she's going to have a chain around her neck. When the Lord comes and they like their mother, they would not want to be an Israelite. They would not want to be that anymore. They would petition, they would complain, they would have a problem. I'm telling you, bro. That's why the Most High can't show people everything. because some people, they can't handle the truth. This is reality. They can't handle the truth. You know? And so, you know, you got people out there, they won't even, in fact, even me bringing up that white people could be Israelites, that actually, that, you know who that comforts more than anything? That when I say that people that are classified as white can be Israelites, that doesn't comfort the people that are white, that are classified as white in modern time. That actually comforts those that are classified as black today, because they don't want to be a part of something unless somebody that looks like the oppressor is a part of it. It's like, wait, what fun is it that, wait, you're telling us that we're going to get a kingdom and we're not going to, like, in their mind, anything that's great has to include people that are classified as white. Some of you may understand what I'm saying. Others of you would not understand. No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. You're not gonna lie on me, because I even repeated myself multiple times. Last thing you want me to do is to pull up a video and show the minute mark where I actually said what I said correctly and then brand you as a liar. So I'm not going to brand you as a liar. You know what I'm going to say, Michelle? I'm going to say you heard incorrectly. And also I'm going to say this. Your husband should be the only, if you got a husband, he should be the one that should be responding on behalf of both you. Y'all should be watching this together, and he should be responding. If you have a question, you ask him, then he can ask me. That's actually the best way to do it. Yeah. What austerity measures, Akim, austerity measures. If a sister got a husband, that's why if it's known you have a husband, you shouldn't be running your mouth in the chat. You shouldn't be running your mouth on the chat. If you're a sister that's tied to us, watch the stream, say shalom, keep it moving. If you got a question, we might be able to allow you to hit up one of us via text while the show is going. And then we may be able to answer from there, you know. But, you know, and it's no harm, no foul. We don't have a problem with you. We don't have a problem with your husband, but we just have to make an example out of these type of situations where, you know, somebody can accuse a brother of saying something and it's recorded, sis. And I'm just going to assume that you just didn't hear properly. So I'm not going to hold that to your charge. I'm not going to hold that to your charge. Okay. But don't, this is the reason why. But anyway, back to the lecture at hand. Yeah, so this Trey Reed situation happened, and many other things like this happened. We'll go ahead and hear the rest of it. It's actually almost done, the proposing of solutions and future outlook. Here's part of the problem. When the people were building, his people were destroying. Let's keep it a beam. It was more than just Tulsa and Black Wall Street. I hate when people just talk about that. You have Elaine, Arkansas. Okay, you have Rosewood, Wilmington, North Carolina, East St. Louis, Illinois. These places they destroyed. They had the Red Summer. In fact, let me get this real quick. These people are freaking demons, man. That's why you can't have an honest conversation with these people. Because they'll say this stuff, and then if you don't know anything, you will sit there and let them get away with it. Okay. Now here's a map. here's a map of the massacres, the towns and the communities that they destroyed over the years. This Wilmington, North Carolina one was so crazy. You got to look it up. There's documentaries on this. This is during the time of Reconstruction when a large amount of so-called black people were able to run for office and be elected officials. And Wilmington, North Carolina was one of the more prominent towns with a large, wealthy black population that was upperly mobile, highly educated, and also being able to govern at a high rate. This is where Michael Jordan is from, by the way, Wilmington, North Carolina, to kind of give you a perspective. And these people, these white supremacist Klan members and other white supremacist groups, they overthrew the Wilmington, North Carolina government, bro. This was the first successful overthrow of elected officials in the United States. This happened in 1898, and they flushed out the so-called black politicians and killed many people and took over that town. Okay? If you go and you put up these years, this Memphis 1866 one, it was a bunch of I think it was a lot of more Irish immigrants that were in the police force in Memphis that went and kind of had a lot to do with a lot of the people that were taken down. You have Elaine, Arkansas. Some of these small towns that you're reading, the smaller towns, not the big cities, they literally destroyed those black communities. Like basically North Tulsa, Black Wall Street, 1921. They literally flew a plane and dropped bombs on them. There's one lady who's the last survivor. She's like 100 years old or something like that. This is years back, so she might be gone. She was like the last remaining survivor of that destruction that occurred. Okay. And you read about the Red Summer of 1919. Crazy. Okay. Remember I talked about East St. Louis, Illinois, 1917. You can look that up. Elaine, Arkansas. Okay. This is another one. So this is Mississippi, Clinton, Mississippi, 1875. Some of this stuff happened during Reconstruction. Okay, right after the Civil War. Look at this. Look, Opelousas, Louisiana, Thibodaux, Louisiana. This is all during Reconstruction. Colfax, 1873. This is during Reconstruction. New Orleans, 1866, during Reconstruction. St. Bernard Parish, 1868, during Reconstruction. Camilla, Georgia, 1868. Okay. Eufaula, Alabama, 1874. They were destroying whole black towns. Vicksburg, Mississippi, another one. And these are just during Reconstruction. We're not even talking about the other stuff. A large percentage of these happened during Reconstruction when our people were coming out of chattel slavery. And like General Yohana, one of the few things he rightfully said, you had us basically next door to the people that hated us. And it's like it don't make no sense. That's not freedom. I think somebody said that's not freeing the people from the plantation was not a right to freedom, was a right to I think it was Martin Luther King said it. It was freedom to the winds, to the elements, because basically you had no home. I'm gonna go ahead and you're very, very close to being banned but people want to be made an example out of. This Michelle lady is being a nuisance. Is very close to being banned from this channel. So I'm gonna just delete your comments. Really put you on timeout. See, yeah, sometimes people got to get that kind of what's it called? They get in here and they start causing confusion. But yeah, man, this is kind of what it is going on right now. And so let's go ahead and go back. Pretty much done.
I had a black guest, first person that told this to me. It was like kind of shocking to me to hear this. I went and I researched a little bit, and I'm like, wow, they had like thriving communities.
Yeah.
And then it went downhill after integration. That's so crazy. People would say I'm racist for saying that, but it's true.
The truth is the truth. The Ninth Ward in New Orleans, poor black people came together and was rising that community. They bust the.
But you notice he's not talking about the drugs being brought in. Basically, the removal of leadership, which they imprisoned at a high rate in the 60s and the 70s. So you took away the leadership. You took away the people that were builders. Then you flooded it with drugs. You sent the males, the able-bodied males, to war in Vietnam. Got them doped up on drugs, promoted sexual liberation, breaking up of homes through no-fault divorce, the war on poverty, which is basically the war on black people to create a welfare state that put the woman in charge of the kids away from the man to disenfranchise their power within the community. This is all the stuff that his people did. See, this guy would hate to have me on the show because he would get washed. He would have to delete the show, bro. If we were on there, he'd have to delete the show. The show would not go the way he would expect.
Levees before the Katrina came.
Really?
Katrina came and they flooded it, and then when black people tried to run out of there, they murdered thousands of them. You don't hear about it.
Yeah.
Obama slipped up and said it one time. He was like, yeah, I went down and looked at Katrina. It was almost 10,000 deaths. They went and got on his case, and he had to go like fix that thing all up.
Yeah.
Because of course, nobody talks about all the people that died down there. I'm not saying this to say, black people should complain.
Yeah.
You understand? What you did to us is a crime against humanity. And now that that's done, the Lord will take care of that. Mm-hmm. But what we're jammed up with focusing on is how do we go forward with you oppressing us? Here, Donald Trump doesn't even want us to talk about black history no more. Mm-hmm. Now,
the black history they do talk about, though, they don't talk about like Marcus Garvey. I never heard of him till recently. They hardly talk about Malcolm X.
Sure.
They talk about these weak ass leaders, NAACP, when they'll give you an Al Sharpton. It's like the black history they teach is a fucking joke.
If you wanted black people to behave and not rebel against you for everything you did, you would also teach them a black history that was nice and mild. Because if you taught them the real deal, like any human being, they would want to be, equaled to what has been done. You understand? So that's why you teach a different kind of history. Mm-hmm. And look what it does.
Pacified, like,
there you go.
Oh, ask the white man for this. It's such a,
there you go.
Like Marcus Garvey's I didn't know much about him. He's all.
Yeah, but see, Marcus Garvey was independent and wanted to basically have an independent business enterprise, and y'all, they overthrew it. So even when Marcus Garvey, who's like, listen, we don't want y'all to do for us, we're going to do for ourselves. So we're going to make our own business. We're going to have our own Starship liner. And these people freaking imprisoned him. They got him on, they put false charges on him to throw him in jail. And that was the end of him, bro. Like, these people, bro, like, that's really what it is right there. Let's go ahead and finish it off, man. This is how we're going to get it. This is the solution. Okay. Believe in Yahushua. He's going to raise up his elect. And this is what's going to happen. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 18. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Okay? They're going to take it. They're going to ask for it. They're going to ask for land. They're going to take the land. Isaiah 14 and 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. So why would you want to go get your own land in the United States, like this guy, General Yohana, said, but then you're not even taking the people captive who was your oppressors? That's supposed to be the next step. Supposed to get them both, supposed to come into the land, into that new land with them captive. He didn't bring up that solution. That's why we have to call these guys out. Luke chapter 6, verse 26. Woe unto you when all men shall speak. In fact, let me get this real quick. I didn't even share the tab. There it is right there. Right? So this is Isaiah 14, 1 and 2. Got to get used to making sure I'm sharing the tabs properly. Salakia. This is Luke chapter 6 and verse 26. Woe unto you when all men shall speak well of you, for so did their fathers to the false prophets. That's why they will uplift a General Yohana, call him, saying that he's a great leader, he's a man of the Lord, and then y'all will just go where you're supposed to go. Destruction, unfortunately. And broad is the way that leadeth thereto. And these men are going to continue to rise up, and men will continue to co-sign them as well. Okay. And if you got a guy like Jazariak who sees this man talking like this, and either you believe in the same solution that he has, or you're willing to keep your mouth closed because there's some kind of benefit you're getting from being within that particular group. This is 2 Peter chapter 2 and 1. But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that brought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. Can you imagine that if the United States government reignited this man's talking points that we want to be separatists within the land, and they can just be like, oh, they're trying to start a new Republic of New Africa. Call it the Republic of Black America. Like, that's what you're putting on yourself. Now, at the end of the day, we're enemies of these people, so it don't matter what we do. Okay? We've been enemies even when we were worshiping their idol, Jesus, Cesare Borgia, and serving the people. And this is wherever our people have been scattered. Whenever we were serving their interests, whenever they took resources on the land, whenever they forced Christianity upon us everywhere they went, and all their colonies, wherever we were scattered, wherever they dragged us to, or wherever they found us on, they said, you're going to be a Christian. You're going to learn our language. And if you don't, you're going to not survive, because if you can't speak this language and if you don't learn our ways, there's no way for us to hire you. There's no way for us to trust you, because you haven't yet assimilated. That's what they did. We were forced into where we are today. Okay? We'll go ahead and finish it off. This here is the book of Philippians chapter 3, starting at verse 17. Brethren, be followers together of me, and mark them which walk so as ye have us for an example. This is Paul speaking. For many walk, of whom I have told you often, and now tell you even weeping, that they are enemies of the cross of Mashiach, whose end is their destruction, whose God is their belly, whose glory is in their shame, who mind earthly things. For our conversation is in heaven, for whence also we look for the Savior, the Lord Yahushua Mashiach, which is what he should have been talking about. And the fact that he never brought up Yahushua HaMashiach during the course of the solution shows you exactly what he is: a false teacher and a false prophet. Okay? So hopefully this is edifying for you brothers and sisters. And again, I want to give all glory and praises to our Heavenly Father Yahweh. And we do so in the name of our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai. Grace and mercy be abound to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom.